Hello, I'm Dr. Vanderpool and welcome to Business Communication. I usually begin this class by telling my students if you'll work hard, study, and discipline yourselves to learn as much as you can about business communication, you could possibly increase your career earnings by $250,000 or even more. Now the reasoning behind that statement is if you're a better communicator, if you get along better with people, if you're able to sell your ideas and your products better, if you're able to sell yourself in a job interview, obviously you're going to position yourself into situations where you're able to earn more money and be more of a successful business entrepreneur. So I suggest to you that if you work hard in this class, you'll do very well in years to come. I'd like to start with a few points in the syllabus. You can read the syllabus on your own, but there are a few things I'd like to suggest to you and just remind you of. First of all, our online class begins Monday mornings. I will populate the website, Angel, very early in the morning. So usually if you rise early, you'll be able to see most of the material for that particular week. We start on Monday and we work through Saturday, so we have a 6-day work week. Everything is due at 11:59 p.m. on Saturday unless otherwise instructed, and that gives you time to take Sunday off. Now from my perspective, Sunday is a day of rest, and I encourage you to take that day of rest. But if for some reason you're not able to finish everything in the course of a week and 6 days, I do allow Sunday as a day of grace. You are able to turn assignments in on Sunday without them being late, even though they may have been due at 11:59 p.m. on Saturday. So you do have a day of grace, but I encourage you to take Sundays off for your family, for yourself. Let it be a day of rest for you after a very busy week. I do accept late work in this course. I know there are times, situations that come up, and if you'll communicate with me about late work or situations in your personal life, many times I can make adjustments to help you and assist you with the course schedule. But I do accept late work. There is a 20% penalty if it's within 1 week's time of the due date. If it extends beyond 1 week time of the due date, there's a 40% penalty. But I suggest that a 60% grade is better than no grade at all. So even if you're very late on your work, do turn it in. Any grade is better than a 0. I will have lecture videos available on each chapter. Starting actually tomorrow on Tuesday, I'll have those available for this week. Basically what I do during these lectures is sit down with the textbook in front of me and I work through the chapter page by page, concept by concept, and discuss them and try to help you with understanding what those concepts are about, giving you some unique illustrations and examples. You'll find that as we progress through the textbook that there's a recommended way of studying the textbook that I encourage my students to use. I encourage students to begin with a very quick reading of the chapter. So at the beginning of the week, do just a quick reading of each chapter, maybe 10-15 minutes at the very most for each chapter. Make note of the outline of the chapter and the contents that are being covered within that chapter. Just get an idea within your mind of what's available in that chapter. The second reading is a very detailed reading, and this may take you an hour and a half, 2 hours, maybe a little bit more, where you take a highlighter or you mark up in the margins of the text different ideas that you are picking up from the material and things that you want to remember. This is a detailed study, and you want to look for all of the small facts and information within that chapter. The third and subsequent readings are reviews of what you've done. These should take no more than about 10 or 15 minutes. And as you review a couple of days before the exam and then the day that you choose to take the exam, it will help you to recall the things that you have studied in your detailed reading of the chapter. If you read the textbook like that, and then you sit down with me at some point after you've been in the textbook for a little while, I will, within 12 to 15 minutes at the most, be able to review that chapter with you and highlight the important parts that I have seen and that I would like for you to remember. I won't be able to cover everything, obviously, but you will be able to pick up some new pointers along the way, and I hope that the video lectures are very helpful to you. I have to admit to you, I do not like being in front of cameras. It's a very awkward position for me. In fact, I always begin the process of any video lecture with a little fear and trepidation. But I look at myself and say, well, I'm just a human being like you are, and you may be afraid to stand in front of a classroom full of students, and that doesn't bother me too much. Standing in front of a camera bothers me, so I do understand what we call communication apprehension, or fear of public delivery. And I overcome that because I think that the video lectures are a great way for me to connect with you and for you to be able to connect with and review the chapters. So I'll make these available to you, and these will begin in this course beginning on Tuesday. You'll see them in Angel. I also want to make connections with you throughout the course, and we'll do that via Adobe Connect. I will set up some times throughout the week where I will be in my office and have Adobe Connect on my computer. I'll be doing my other things, but if you pop up in Adobe Connect and want to talk about something, I'll be there and available for you. Please consider these as virtual office hours. I don't have a camera for the computer in my office right now. I will try to attain one. You don't need a camera for Adobe Connect, but it's just another way of us connecting live. And of course, I'm always available if you want to email me. We can connect in other ways more personally as well. In this course, I'm going to ask you to complete what I call self-evaluations. We'll do this weekly at the end of the week. Usually on Saturday morning, these will pop open in Angel, and I will ask you, how did the week go? How did your studies go? What was going on in your life? Are you maintaining good balance as a student and as a parent and as a spouse and with your job? And basically just a kind of a personal checkup. It's a time when I'm very personal with you and one-on-one with you as I respond to those self-evaluations. I'll give you 5 points for each of them. It'll add up to 25 points out of 1,000. It's not much, but it's a good way just for me to be able to connect with you and to assist you on a more personal level of how you may be a better student. Let's talk about the discussion forums. In the discussion forums, there are two kinds of postings I want you to be aware of. There are the answers and there are the responses. You'll be giving 3 postings each week for each of the questions in the discussion forums. The first response you make to a discussion forum is your answer. The answer is where you respond to the question that I have given. The responses that you make, to differentiate the answers from the responses are the comments you make to other student answers and what you see within those answers that they have made, and the observations and substantive comments you would make to the other students. I have a rubric in the syllabus. I hope you will take a good close look at the syllabus to see that rubric that shows the point breakdown for the answers and then for your responses. So you'll make 1 answer to every question and 2 responses to other students after you have answered the question. Another thing I should note about the discussion forums is that I've made these post-first discussions. What that means is that you will not be able to see anyone else's comments in the discussion until you post first. It's very simple. I want you to think about the answers to the questions and answer those questions in your own language, in your own way, the best response you can come up with. I don't want you to be influenced by other people's answers. So once you post, then you'll be able to make responses and to see what other people have answered. But until you post, it'll be blank. Don't be frightened by that. Go ahead and jump right in. And I think I've asked you to respond to the questions with your answers by Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. And then you have the next 2 days, Friday and Saturday, until 11:59 p.m. to post 2 responses to others. Of course, you can respond as soon as you want in the week, and that's fine. I know some students do that, and it gets the discussion rolling. Actually, the earlier the better in the discussion forums, but those are the 2 deadlines that we have. One more thing about responses. When you respond to other student answers, It's not going to be helpful at all if you make a simple comment like, "I agree, that's a good idea," or "I wish I had thought of that," or "That's a very good point, I agree." Anything like that is weak, doesn't say anything, doesn't contribute anything to the discussion. Your responses must be much more substantive to that than that, and if you look at the rubric in the syllabus, you'll be able to see what I'm looking for. When you submit assignments in this course on Angel, I would like for them to be either in Word format or in RTF, which is rich text format. If you don't have Word in your computer, you may use just a regular writing program and use RTF, rich text format, to submit your papers. You will lose a lot of the formatting, which is important in APA, and that's why I really encourage Word. But as much as possible, turn your assignments in with those two formats. You'll notice also in the rubric that I suggest, you'll notice in the syllabus that I suggest that you use the rubrics that I make available to you. Now, I think most of you know what a rubric is. I'm basically telling you what criteria I'm going to use in evaluating your papers and the grade levels for how those criteria will factor out. I make a matrix. So if you want an A, you read down the A column on each of the criteria to see what an A paper would look like. I think you'll find that these rubrics can be very useful to you in understanding how to prepare the assignment, but then also in how the assignment will be evaluated by me. I do the rubrics because years ago when I was in undergraduate work, many of my professors would talk a lot about how to do the assignment, and I would do it following their discussion and turn it in, and then the paper would come back graded, and I would look at it and say, they didn't grade this at all the way they said they were going to. And it just seemed to me like it was a little unfair. So I'm telling you up front the way I'm going to look at your assignments and the way I'm going to grade it, and I want you to know that so that your preparation of the assignment can be directed toward how it will be evaluated. So read the rubrics before each assignment. I think that will be useful. And the last thing I want to talk to you about today is academic integrity. Basically what I'm saying is just be honest in this class. When you take a test, if it's a closed book test, and they will be, keep your book closed. It's not going to help you to keep your book open. I know some students say, well, I don't test well, and so I like to have the book available, and I look quickly through it and try and find the answers, and it does help me a lot, or else I got a bad score in the last exam, and I can't go on like that. I've got to help myself some way. Well, let me suggest that no matter what grade you get on your exams, that I find that you are still a person of value and worth. And all a bad grade suggests is that you had a bad exam. It doesn't mean anything about your worth as an individual. I still value each of you and look forward to meeting you in this class and getting acquainted with you through virtual relationships. But the exams and the papers that you do must be a representation of your work, not anyone else's work. So as you continue through this course, let's maintain a good level of trust. Do your best, be yourself. If you have problems being the kind of student that you'd like to be, let's talk about it. Let's see how I can help you or suggest ways that would help you. And please, don't assume that I have always made A's on all of my exams. There have been some exams I've made that I did very, very poorly on. I didn't put myself down or say that I was a lousy student. I continued until I reached my goals. But I was able to say, I need to take a look at how I'm studying. I need to take a look at how I'm working on this material and preparing the material. And I went back to the drawing board and I worked on it again and tried to make improvement. Well, all of these things are very important for us, and I want you to really take a look at Angel this week, understand it. If you have any questions, please contact me. You'll notice that I've set up an Adobe Connect meeting for Wednesday evening. I'm here to help you be a success. I want to do everything I can to help you to do that. It's nice to be your professor. It's nice to be with you, and I look forward to getting better acquainted with each of you through the course.